goes, and the guy goes, so what does your natural hair look like? Do you have a good curl? Hi everybody, welcome to my channel if you're new here. If you're not, welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. Today, as you can see on the title of the video, I'll be talking about why I'm no longer waiting from representation from Hollywood and how dark-skinned girls and women can find confidence in themselves through their own sources of media. So yeah. I wanted to do this video because it was just a thought that ran across my mind last night. I just kept thinking about thinking about my own journey and how I had to find my own representation because I knew that no one was going to give it to me, or at least no time soon. So part of me being an actor and a filmmaker, I just have the inkling to make sure I always represent Black people, especially dark-skinned women, in my projects, so that they'll have that representation, at least from my work, if they can't find it anywhere else. Because also it's for me. What you create is a representation of yourself. So I would like to see myself in a different light. So yeah. I first want to talk about, Hollywood, the film industry first, and how I just came to the conclusion that they're never going to do what we want them to do. I've been acting for 8 years now. So starting high school, throughout college, and now, so almost 9 years. So that's been a part of my life for a while. But so with that comes me, constantly soaking up different films, reading different plays, or, just different things. And so one thing I realized that was very different from theater versus film is there's a lot more representation when it comes to theater acting, when it comes to having dark-skinned women in roles. As far as I know, I'm not sure like on a bigger stage of like, Broadway and things, but even then I've seen more plays with dark-skinned women than I have movies. So that's just that. And so me transitioning from a theater actor to a film actor, that kind of made me feel, it kind of discouraged me a little bit, because I was like, okay, am I gonna get a role? Literally, like, am I gonna get a role? At some point, I got an agent, and I started working for an agency. I signed up with an agency, and at first I thought, initially I wanted to join an agency and, get work and, start on that way of, building success through the industry. And it wasn't what I thought it was. Like, even on the very first day that I went to the agency, I experienced colorism, or I just experienced anti-Blackness as a whole, because I went into the casting room and I talked to the agents, and I did a read-through with them. I, did a cold read, and then they had me walk just in case they wanted to put me in like their modeling, side of the agency. And so after, all that, the people were like, you know what, we want you, you do great, all that jazz. And then the guy goes, and the guy goes, so what does your natural hair look like? Do you have a good curl? And I'm just like, huh? And he's like, do you have a good curl? That's what's booking these days. And I'm just thinking, like, what the fuck is a good curl? And like, I'm just like, I can show you pictures of my natural hair, because when I went to the casting call, I had my hair straight. And so I was just very confused. Like, what is a good curl, sir? So I showed him my hair, and he told me that I would have to get new headshots with my natural hair, or whatever. And so I went home and I ordered natural hair clip-ins, because at the time, like, my hair was natural, but it's not long. It wasn't long. And so I got natural hair clip-ins to conform to what this man was telling me, because apparently that was the only way I was going to get booked if I had, I don't know, 3C mixed girl hair. So that was an experience for me, and that made me realize if this is what the people who are running agencies are like, I can't imagine the casting directors, then the producers, then the directors themselves, because I feel like they all trickle in line. And I say that because also with this agency, even though at that time I experienced that and that man said that to me, I was so excited and just wanted to be a part of an agency so bad that I still went ahead and booked and signed with them. And so when I would receive booking emails for different projects, sometimes the casting director's notes and the characters would be questionable as fuck, very questionable. I had one I received, I was just appalled that it even said this. It was a casting call for a commercial, but it was a beauty commercial or something, and it asked for a lot of different groups of women, but when it asked for African American women, they made sure they implied they only wanted light-skinned African American women, and then everybody else was included except for dark-skinned people. And so that really pissed me off, and I was just I'm tired of getting these casting calls that have nobody who, fits my description in it, and I constantly can't apply to certain things because I feel they're not looking for me. And so it's although they put in an email, it's an equal opportunity casting, it's really not. It's honestly not. If that was the case, these characters wouldn't have all these descriptions of their race in it and their skin tone and all that. But yeah, that really made me mad. So as far as Hollywood goes, I don't feel anytime soon they'll be showing Black women, especially dark-skinned women, in a true light, as we really are. Unless we do it ourselves, we won't be, the love interest or the princess for the whole movie without turning into an animal. It's just, I ain't got no faith in them. So that's that on that. Also, I had wrote in my notes about what I want to talk about today. So I'm going to keep going back to this so that I can stay on topic and move along, right? And so that stuff has really affected me just throughout life. This wasn't the first experience that I was just really fed up with Hollywood or just the industry in general. I remember in high school, it was summertime, so I wasn't doing anything. I was at home all the time. I was just watching TV, binge watching all these shows. And I just started getting tired because it was okay, I keep watching these shows and I don't see no girls who look like me. I'm tired of watching these movies. I don't see no girls who look like me. It's getting boring. And so I stopped watching TV altogether. For a long time, if it didn't have a dark-skinned Black girl in it, I wasn't watching it. I wasn't. I was so mad. And so after that, I started watching A Different World. And so I was just watching that show, and that was the only thing that was really giving me the representation I wanted. And that was an old show. It's an old show. My mom was watching that show. So that was my breaking point, really. I feel with Hollywood and, consuming that kind of media, it's made me feel like I'm non-existent. Hollywood doesn't think I exist. Girls like me don't exist. And it's annoying. It's very annoying to sit there and constantly look on the TV screen and you never see yourself in a positive light, and just as someone you would want to see. You never get to see the dark-skinned woman as just the beautiful girl who has things going for herself and whatever. It's just never a positive story. It's always the mammy or the slave, and it's just and then even when it's the slave, the main character who's a woman is always a biracial woman. So it's you can only find us to be in the background in the fields, but when it comes to getting that screen time and, having those relationships with other characters that are the main center point, we're never there. So yeah, that's my little spiel about not wanting to, deal with Hollywood and just taking in all that their media, because it's never going to be the representation I want to see. So that's why I create myself. I do it myself. I already love writing and film, so that just gives me an extra boost to make sure when I'm casting for my things that it's actual representation of Black women. So as far as dark-skinned girls and women and like finding their own confidence through media, I feel like me just going on my own and searching for, you know, different people myself to look up to and be the representation for me has helped me a lot. Like what you take in on social media, what you consume through social media is very important, whether it's your, you know, reading people's thoughts, because you're reading people's thoughts all day long. And so that can be very anxiety ridden, because people can throw out negativity all the time. People tweet things that are just ridiculous, and people are mean on Twitter. Like, it's just, it can get really bad if you're just constantly consuming the same thing over and over, people's negative feelings, people's negative emotions, and like people's you know, negative words constantly. Then you start to internalize those things. And so when you start to internalize them, you start to feel different things about yourself. So what you consume on social media is very important. And so for dark-skinned women especially, I personally would like to make sure I fill my social media with girls who look like me. On Instagram, I follow a lot of dark-skinned girls from everywhere. I follow dark-skinned girls who live in Berlin. I follow dark-skinned girls who live in Paris. I think they live everywhere. Like, I don't care. I'm not gonna limit myself to just, like, you know, American media, because I know it's not that representation I really want. So making sure, you know, you don't limit yourself to things so that you can really seek out what it is you want to see. And I feel like a part of that is also, you know, supporting small Black creators. A lot of people, you know, talk about, you know, supporting smaller creators and all those things, or like, you know, Black films, and they try to talk about, like, you know, things being not high quality or whatever. But I feel like you also have to understand the fact that a lot of the times us small creators are working with absolutely nothing. Like my short film, which will probably be out by the time I post this video, I used what I had. I used what I had around me. I used my apartment. I used the outside of my apartment. Like, I used the store. You know, the most I spent that day was for the coat I used in that scene, and it was like $13 at the thrift store. Like, and then the other stuff that I bought was like a drink, the chips, and the little cakes, and that was like $5 at the gas station. So I spent $18 to film my short film. So, you know, and luckily enough, like, you know, I have friends who are also creators. So when we do stuff, we do it for free. Like, we're working with each other for free until, you know, whenever the money comes. But like, if you let that deter you from, you know, supporting these people, then, you know, imagine how you not supporting them now while they're, you know, starting small and working on a budget and, like, you know, trying to build things. Then you're never going to see their work get to a higher level so that they can actually produce quality work. And so until we can get all those Black creators uplifted and support them in the way they need to be, we're not going to really see the representation that we want to see. So starting small and, you know, trying to find small creators on YouTube or anywhere really that you can find Black filmmakers. On Clubhouse, I definitely go on Clubhouse a lot to, like, talk to other or just listen to other, you know, creators, especially filmmakers. And so I follow those people. Whenever I see a Black woman who's a filmmaker or a writer, I follow her. I keep my timeline. I try to keep my timeline full of people that I know won't be tweeting stuff that I wouldn't agree with. And not just, like, you know, an opinion that I wouldn't agree with or something, like, you know, that's just regular, but just more so, like, people I don't relate to, I don't like to keep on my timeline. If you're constantly talking about indulging in toxic relationships, I don't want to see that kind of stuff, because I've indulged in toxic relationships and I've kind of grown as a woman and moved on from that. So when I see other people doing it, it's disgusting, it's nasty, it's dirty to me, because I'm so far removed from that kind of behavior. It's so immature, it's a lot of things. It's just very bad behavior to have. So yeah, so that's one tip is, making sure your social media is full of what you want to see. Follow girls who look like you on Instagram. Only like pictures of girls who look like you on Instagram. So that way your explore page will show more girls who look like you and have, your interests. And so that way you yourself personally, you have that representation, and you give it to yourself every day, because what we consume, what we consume in the media, when we're so consumed by social media, that's the age we live in, you have to know how to decipher and like really know what it is that you should internalize and not internalize, because you cannot internalize everything on the internet. You can't think everything you see is true. You can't. So you have to make the virtual world you live in the one you really want to see. So yeah. Social media, it can be a good thing, but as nature does, it's too much of a good thing can turn bad. So just keep that in mind, because at the end of the day, your thoughts manifest into the real world. The things you're thinking, constantly consuming, they can manifest into the real world. If you're constantly following people on Twitter who are tweeting about, joking about being depressed and wanting to kill themselves or things like that, because that's what people on Twitter do for some reason. They make a joke out of their depression or their mental illness or their mental health, and it's not funny. It's like they think it's a coping mechanism, but once you get over the whole coping mechanism phase, it's like you need help. You seriously need help. And you're joking on Twitter, and I promise it's not okay. What you're doing is not okay. So yeah, this is just what I wanted to talk about really quickly. Just be very mindful of your media. Make sure you're following girls on Instagram who look like you. You're following people on Twitter who align with your views and look like you. You're watching shows and movies with girls that look like you. Have that representation and give it to yourself. Do not sit here and wait for Hollywood to do it, because they won't. They really won't. And if they do, finally. Like, I just feel like Hollywood has like these moments where they're like, here's a dark-skinned girl, we're gonna use her for like the next 80 years and everything, and then that's all y'all get. Like, and sometimes it's not even that. It's just like, you might get a dark-skinned girl this year and something new and good, but we'll think about that. Yeah, so so I feel like, when it comes to colorism, it's, the same thing as racism in a sense, as far as, it being something people use to make you feel like you have to limit yourself, or that, you should think in a state of mind of lack because you don't have this or that. You don't have light skin, or you don't have curly hair. Like, that's a lack of mentality that, oh, if I don't have those things, then I can't succeed at certain things. I can't be a model, or I can't be an actor, or I can't be, all these things. These are things that were meant to hold people back. And so I just want to make sure that I let young girls especially know that society cannot hold you back. It can't. As long as you know yourself and believe truly and wholeheartedly who you are and how beautiful you are, nothing else matters. Once you get to that point of 100%, nobody can tell me shit. Like, I know who I am. You can say all you want to say, but at the end of the day, I think you're crazy, because what do you mean I'm not a bad bitch? Like, it's just really that. Like, you get to a point, I feel like growing up, I was always conscious of being a dark-skinned girl, so I always went the extra mile, because I lacked so much confidence. Like, there was no representation for me, and then there was no one uplifting me as well. So when you have no one complimenting you or anything like that, it's kind of hard to believe in yourself, because it's like you're not being affirmed by anyone. And so how can you affirm yourself? It's like self-love is one thing, but if you're never receiving any type of love outside of that, it's not gonna help you get to where you need to be. It's gonna be it's gonna be harder. It's definitely gonna be harder trying to find self-love in a world that acts like you don't exist. So, growing up, I just always had this idea that my skin being dark would hold me back from a lot of things, but also that I wouldn't be able to do certain things like, wear certain colors or have certain hairstyles or anything like that. Like I can't wear blonde hair. I have a wig with like blonde in it. I love it, and I want a platinum blonde wig so bad. Because dark skin girls look fucking good in platinum blonde wigs. We some bad bitches. Anyways, but yeah, I felt like, I was being ridiculed a lot. I remember growing up and, being in school, and, I remember one time in middle school, I walked into class. I think I had came back from the bathroom or something, and like people were like in a circle in like one area of the class, and everybody else was at their desk. And it was like my one friend who was a light-skinned girl, and like all the boys in the class, they're all sitting around in a circle. And come in the conversations about me and how if I was light-skinned, I'd actually be pretty. So like imagine, walking into class and, your friend is sitting at the table full of boys trying to defend you. And it's just like, why is this a topic anyways? Like, it was really frustrating. I remember that day so vividly because it was like, how dare you? How dare you? I feel like in order for us to get the representation that we want, we have to seek it out ourselves. And we shouldn't have to do that. We really shouldn't have to. But for the moment, it's something that we have to do in order to, boost ourselves up. Because if we sat here and waited for someone else to do it, I just don't feel like it will come. And that's just the sad reality of it. Even today, I watch shows and I look on, these platforms that, host these movies and shows. And I still just feel like there's a lot missing. Like this, especially even if I watch shows centered around Black people, I'm just like, it's something missing. It's not like, it's just not the people that I see every day. So, and I know that the people I see every day are not the only people who, act like they act. So why can't I see the representation of, me and my people that, the people who live in my city or where I live? Because we're all Black. And so I don't see anything like that. The things we do, I feel like me and my friends, we're funny as shit. And like, we have a certain style. We do certain things that I feel like people should know this is what Black people do. Like every Black show I've seen, I feel like it tries too hard to center so much about being so pro-Black and political, because not every single day do a Black person talk about, their Blackness. Sometimes we just be living, we just be doing shit. Like, so, it's kind of unrealistic, and then it's just not the true accurate representation. We not, freedom fighters every day. We're not. As simple as that. As long as you intake media that you really feel like represents you, it'll make the... As long as you intake media that you feel like truly represents you, it'll help you change your entire worldview of yourself and dark-skinned women in general. I feel like sometimes even other dark-skinned women feel the need to shame other dark-skinned girls or things like that. And it's all just internalized self-hate. So, I can't shame these girls for, essentially hating themselves, because society has made them that way. Society has, told them that dark is not good. If it's light, it's right. Like, that's what people say. Like, I remember growing up and the older people would say comments like, oh, he's color struck. And I was like, what does that mean? Also, with dark skin being equated to masculinity, that has, I feel like, deterred a lot of dark-skinned women from thinking they could be in, like, you know, beauty campaigns and things like that. So just trying to rid myself of those ways of thinking, and knowing that, you know, Black is truly beautiful, dark skin is truly beautiful. You know, your skin tone doesn't make you beautiful. That's just first and foremost. And I'm like, I don't know if I have common sense because I just happen to be dark skinned, so I wasn't, you know, confused about what's beautiful and what's not, because I was forced to really look at, you know, myself outside of my skin tone, because people thought that deemed ugly. So I found other ways I could feel beautiful. So I would dress up and, you know, wear clothes that I felt like, you know, were fit my style and help me, like, you know, accentuate my appearance. I did my makeup a certain way. You know, just whatever I could do to make me feel beautiful. And so, but I also feel like that taught me how to find beauty in people for real. Like, not just surface level beauty, but actual beauty. And I feel like, you know, features matter. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So what I feel is an attractive feature might not be an attractive feature to someone else. But at the end of the day, your skin tone is not what makes you beautiful. It doesn't make any sense to just say someone being dark equates to being ugly, because everybody can be ugly no matter which skin tone you are. And like, who's to say what ugly is, if we're being honest? So yeah, that was my just quick spill and, you know, tips and things that I feel like, you know, you guys should do in order to, you know, move forward and gain the confidence and see the representation you want to see, and just create that for yourself, because we got at this point. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you click the like button and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at NotAnotherSag, and you can also follow me on Twitter at BRVNDYXO. See you guys next time. Bye.